Alright, hey guys, remember CCG back in the video. This video I'm going to be bringing you guys a Salamangreat deck profile, and this is post Soulburning Volcano. And let's get started. So I run 3 copies of the Parallax Seed. Parallax Seed is just great for this deck since it's a link deck. Being able to do that, go into Parallax Seed, potentially go into Baguska as well, or just link climb using this. It just gives you a lot of value. I definitely like running 3 copies of it. 2 copies of Tiger here. So Tiger, even though this is the Salamangreat tuner, we don't run the synchro monsters, or I decided not to run them. When I get to the side deck, I'll cover that. But Tiger still on its own is still pretty good, and it has some flexibility to it that still makes it relatively useful, as well as being able to get itself out. So that's why I still run 2 copies of it here. 2 copies of Jaguar. Jaguar is amazing because this card is able to bring itself out from the grave by recycling a card in your grave back into your deck. So this is a great way of just getting back your balances back. Sometimes you just run out of them, and this is a good way of recycling them while getting this card out and link climbing from there. Foul, of course, the nice thing about this card is that it's a low 4 Salamangreat, so it gives you the ability to go into Baguska in case you need to, but if not, it's able to special summon itself out, and it can serve as a way to just force your opponent to potentially activate a spell or trap, or just keep it from being activated. So it's potentially very annoying for your opponent. 1 copy of Falco, because I can use something like Salamangreat Circle, use Falco here to put it back onto my field, as you're going to see with one of the combos, but these traps, that can work as well. And then 1 copy of the Gazelle. This card, of course, is insane in this deck, and even though you only have 1 copy of it, you're still able to make it work, just because you can search this card out pretty easily, and if you do, you're going to do some pretty insane combos that you guys are going to see. 2 copies of Flame Buffalo. So Flame Buffalo here just gives you some draw power, while also being a level 3 that can be useful if you need to go into Mirage Stelio. 3 copies of Spinny. Spinny, of course, for the Gazelle, just being able to go into Mirage Stelio. 2 copies of Foxy. This card can potentially extend your plays. You just have to see what you get. It can provide some pretty good value if you get some pretty good hits. 1 copy of Weasel, give your opponent the Gazelle, and then you can use something like Mirage Stelio to bounce the Gazelle back to your hand, while also giving yourself a free draw by using Weasel. Then 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is just my hand trap of choice. 3 copies of Salamangreat of Fire. So Salamangreat of Fire, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about this card. I've seen that a lot of people have resorted to not using it just because it locks you into fire monsters, which can be potentially problematic, but I think it's still worth running because even though you won't be able to go into your Baguska or into your Access Code Talker, you don't necessarily have to. It's just you choose depending on what you want to do, whether or not you want to lock yourself into fire here. And if you don't like this card, I'd say just to consider the combos. There's going to be a combo video coming out, and you're going to see the potential power of this card. And the thing I like about this deck is that it has some flexibility to it. If you want the Salamangreat of Fire, then you can go into that play, as you're going to see with the combo, set up a pretty powerful board, or you can go with a Baguska with the Raging Phoenix as your other board if you decide not to activate your Salamangreat of Fire. And then 3 copies of Valor as the other hand trap of choice. 3 copies of Signet Mining. This card just gives you a lot of value, even though you have to discard a card. With Salamangreats, that's not usually a problem, just because a lot of them like to be in the grave. Something like Spinny, Falco, stuff like that. 3 copies of Circle. Circle is just able to search a Salamangreat monster from your deck to your hand, while also making your Salamangreat Link monsters unaffected by monster effects. So you're going to see, again, with one of the combos, you're just able to establish this card after activating its first effect. You're setting it up so that you can use it during your opponent's turn. 1 copy of Will of the Salamangreat. This card is an amazing extender that can give you some really powerful boards if you play it right. And then 1 copy of the Salamangreat Sanctuary. This is good, of course, your way of actually powering up your Salamangreat Link monsters, and great searchability with this card as well, and a good way of recycling it. 3 copies of Imperm, just the other hand trap of choice. 1 copy of Salamangreat Rage. This card can clear out the board quite a bit. 1 copy of Salamangreat Roar. This card is able to be a spell trap monster negate, so of course you want to run this card, and it's also able to recycle itself pretty easily. Alright guys, before I go to the extra deck, if you guys are enjoying the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get started. So here I run 1 copy of Baguska. In case things go bad, you can go into Baguska, or if things are going well, you can go set yourself up with the Raging Phoenix and Baguska. Makes it difficult for your opponent to tear your board down if you have something like Baguska while still having your Link monster out. 1 copy of Mirage Stelio. This card is able to serve as an extender, but also as a removal, and also giving you a way of renewing your resources by actually giving yourself back the gazelle. So it's a really powerful card here. 2 copies of Raging Phoenix. This card is the new Link monster for Salamangreat, and it's a very powerful one. It's able to just provide a lot of value by searching a Salamangreat card from your deck to your hand. So my favorite target's a Salamangreat Roar, just because it's a very powerful trap card, while also being able to bring itself back out. If you need a way to one-shot your opponent, Access Code Talker is great for that. 1 copy of Transcode Talker. If you need a way to continue extending your board, this card does a great job of that. 1 copy of Decode Talker Heat Soul, being able to give you some draws. Pretty powerful. 1 copy of Update Jammer. If you need a way to finish your opponent, you're going to want to go into this first. 3 copies of Sunlight Wolf. This card, if you're able to summon onto one of its zones, being able to recycle things is great. And yeah, it's a good way of just getting your Mirage Stelio back, or your Gazelle, or whatever you need. And it's just a very powerful card, while also, if you actually link summon using itself, then you can add 1 Salamangreat spell trap from your grave to your hand. So of course, that's a very powerful bonus if you're able to do that. 1 copy of Splash Mage just to keep extending. 2 copies of the Balinks. Searching out the Sanctuary is very powerful and necessary for the deck, so of course you want to have at least 2 copies of this. 1 copy of Lingoribo, so that you have a way to go into your Heat Soul. And yeah, this is the extra deck that I chose. You guys can definitely change it up a little bit. I think there's not a lot of ways for you to completely change this extra deck, just because I think everything's very tight the way it is, and it made it very difficult for me to even add any other cards, any of the new support, as every card here has an argument for being here, even the multiple copies, as you do tend to run through a lot of them. And you can drop something like Buguska if you'd like, but I'd say consider the combos first before you consider dropping it. And then for the side deck here, these are the cards that I consider running but didn't end up doing so. Baron the Floor, that's a powerful card, but you can sometimes lock yourself out of summoning something like this, so I decided not to run it. 1 copy of the Salamangreat Burst Griffin. It's a strong card, but I don't think it really registers enough reason to actually have it here, as it's going to take up a good amount of space in the extra deck as well. Then 1 copy of the Heat Leo. It just doesn't do enough to warrant having it in the extra deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and make sure to stay tuned for the combos, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.